This is not a combat role for
Right.
the United States. There's some 275 U.S. military personnel, some in the region, some on the ground at the U.S. Embassy. The U.S. Embassy is a huge, sprawling complex, really a city within a city here in Baghdad. Thousands of employees, some 5,000 employees there. So 275 military forces capable of combat if it comes to that, to protect the embassy, to try to evacuate U.S. personnel if it comes to that. As you know, some U.S. personnel are leaving Baghdad, going to areas in south of Iraq, also in Kurdish areas, and also going into Jordan. But while those Marines and others lessening the number of U.S. personnel at the embassy, that's the first time they've done that. Invasion back in 2003.
What are you hearing from the ground? For the folks you're talking to say that the U.S. needs to come in, that U.S. airstrikes are necessary in order to fight ISIS?
Look, it really depends who you talk to, but I mean, there's certainly a lot of pride here. There's certainly a belief among a lot of people. You talk to these volunteers, you see these volunteers showing up in huge numbers, really in many cases, without military training. They say they're willing to fight, willing to die to fight ISIS, and they say they're capable of taking care of this. There's a great sense of a kind of a groundswell of pride that they can do something. Others who you talk to certainly will say that they are afraid, that they want to see some sort of greater involvement from the United States, whether it's airstrikes or drone strikes. You don't hear a lot of people talking about certainly boots on the ground, and that's certainly not something that the United States seems to be considering in any kind of large numbers. But you know, the concern here in the call by religious leaders to take up arms to defend the country is that this basically becomes a sectarian bloodbath, that the divide that has existed here for a long time between Sunni groups and Shia only gets wider. And that's something that the government here really needs to try to address. That's something that the United States, Britain, basically all outside powers are saying. Whether or not the government here is actually willing to do that, reach out to some of these Sunni groups, which are now aligning themselves with ISIS, even though they may not agree with the tactics or even like this force. They don't feel they have many alternatives. They don't feel that the central government here in Baghdad has really been meeting their needs in any real way over the last several years.